G'day guys, welcome back to part 2 of my home studio build. By the end of the video we will have the electrical, mechanical and the framework done for the control room. In this picture here you can see we've received delivery of the plaster and the timber for the framework downstairs. So the timber consists of 90 by 35 pine and a certain amount of treated pine, which will be for the bottom plates, which will sit against the slab on the floor. The plaster is, I think it's around 50 sheets of 3.6 metre long 16mm fire check, which weighs approximately 48 to 50 kilos, I think it was, per sheet. And the total delivery itself was around 2 tonnes. So this was a big day. Yeah, it wasn't a lot of fun getting it all downstairs, but with the help of 3 other people, we eventually got it down there. So, yep, big thanks to you guys. You know who you are. It's a little bit hard to see, but the foundation walls have actually been sealed with a waterproof membrane. In the end, what I decided was to divide the space into 3. We'll have the control room, the tracking room, a small workshop area / plant room, and there'll be a little hallway which runs down the side of the stairwell there, which actually leads to the workshop area at the back. So this solved 4 main problems for me. Number 1, it isolated the control room from the stairwell wall. As we looked at in the first video, the stairwell wall is a point of transfer of energy and vibration to the rest of the house frame. So isolating that from the control room should be a big advantage. The next thing was having that hallway there provided a spot where I can actually install a bulkhead, so I'll lower the ceiling and run the ductwork, which can then feed into both rooms. Also, the workshop area itself provides a spot to locate the HRV, which is a heat recovery ventilation unit, which will provide ventilation to both spaces. And with the heat recovery side of it, what it does is it means that when you're bringing in fresh air from outside, if for example we're heating the room, rather than just exhausting all that air that has been heated, it crosses over the incoming air and transfers around 75 to 80% of that heat back across to the incoming air, and then vice versa in summer when we're using cooling. The extra doors between the hallway and the workshop will actually provide me with 2 areas which can be used as isolation booths. So all I needed to do to make that happen was put a couple of tie lines in there. So what I put is a microphone point and a speaker cable connection in each one, which will allow me to have a couple of guitar cabinets in there and then have the heads out in the control room. The final thing this helped to achieve was to get the room in a better place acoustically. So there's an online tool called the AMROC Room Mode Calculator, which has one feature on there which looks at a graph called the Bolt area. I believe the guy's name was Andrew Bolt, and he's worked out some different configurations and calculations for ideal room modes to get your modes in the room as evenly spaced as possible based on different dimensions. So by shortening the length of the room, this has allowed us to get in that bolt area, which should put us in a little bit better spot when it comes to treating the room. You can see I've finally made a start. We've drilled some threaded rod into the concrete slab. This will be to support the framework for the new control room. Each of these holes has been sealed with epoxy resin, and a waterproofing membrane has been painted on top of that. And the reason we did that now is because the bottom plates are going to go down, and obviously you won't be able to access them afterwards. So we've just done those areas down. We'll backfill it later on. In this one you can see the electrical's roughed in now, and we've put some black sarking, which is like a plastic sheet down over the where the bottom plates is going to go, to provide some extra protection for the 90 by 35 treated pine. You can also see there's a pile of 38mm furring channel on the floor there. Now that's going to replace all the hat channel that's been pulled down from the underside of the floor joists above. and this allows for the resilient mounting clips to go on there and provide the mechanical isolation between downstairs and upstairs basically. Okay, so next I've got a little bit of footage of myself, my brother and a good friend of mine building the control room and the sound attenuators for the ductwork. Apologies in advance for the shaky iPhone footage. I always planned to do this, but once the project got underway, the focus shifted to researching and planning, and filming became a bit of an afterthought. So the plan from here out is to film properly. Things are underway. We've got a control room. The window. We've got Lee and Lyndon slugging their guts out for free. Working for love and chicken. But yeah, done really well today. We've got internal, external walls up for the control room. So desk's going to go there. There's our view. Out to the tracking room.
How are we putting on this side?
We're going to have a door on this passage here, another one at the other end, so that'll create one isolation booth. And then this is going to be the plant room for all the air conditioning. But again, that'll be sealed off, so that'll make a second ISO booth. Going to create a bulkhead from the RSJ across to get all the ductwork across and feed into both rooms. And yeah, there's 2 tonne of 16mm fire check, enough to do what I just showed you. If I can afford it, I want to get rid of all this pressed tin, which actually looks amazing, and continue out here as well. So just give you a quick look at what we're using. So this is the Australian version of Whisper clips. These are made by a company called Rondo, so that goes up against the bottom of the floor joist there, and our fairing channel clips in. And then on top of the wall plates, we are using these from the same company, Rondo STWC clips. You can see them on the top of the wall plate there. So what we've done is the internal wall is isolated with these clips. The external wall we've taken straight up to the bottom of the joist to reduce, well, effectively reduce the span of these joists so that the weight of the plaster is going to have a lower load on this on these floor joists. Building some boxes for the ductwork. He's already built these 2, which have come up really good. So what will happen is the ventilation will come in one end, go through this maze, which will be full of insulation, out the other end. It'll hopefully stop any sound going between the live room here and our control room over here. The other brother up there, they're both Sparkies. So Joel's up there roughing in some cables. We've got data points, we've got Wi-Fi. All coming back to here, which is going to go under the stairs to our little server room. And the plant room here, there's the ventilation unit, which is a HRV, Fantech HRV unit. It's going to get mounted up here. And the ductwork's going to come back around here, down through this bulkhead in the hallway. We're going to go through our baffle boxes into the room, supply and return, one at each end. So before we finish up, I've got just a few more pictures where we can have a closer look at a few things. This first one here shows the sound attenuators we built before we put the lids on. Also had these things called sound mazes. As you can see, it directs the airflow down through the ductwork through a series of bends. And what happens here is, as the sound energy passes through these obstacles, it loses energy and sound pressure, and helps to reduce the transfer of sound. So these are filled with polyester sound insulation. We've made 3 in total at this point. One for the supply air and return air of the control room, and one for the return air in the tracking room, which will actually go in the underside of the bulkhead that we're building. And the last shot I've got here shows what I did to neaten up the cables and the drain pipe for the sump. I've got them back in the corner so that we can frame around them. Originally the cables were running across the floor, so they've been run up to the ceiling and back down the wall on the left hand side there. And you can't see in these photos, but the cables actually enter into a 50mm PVC conduit with a couple of right angles in it, and that then passes through the wall, which brings us into the underneath of the stairwell, and that's where the switchboard and the power setup for the pumps is located. So I'm going to probably use that same design with the PVC tube in a couple of other places as well. If you've stuck around this far, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. Please consider subscribing, and I'll keep posting videos as we progress through the build, and this way you won't miss out on anything. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.